Hello everybody and welcome to the third and final episode of this Big Machine of Solar Happiness tutorial. Oh, say that 5 times fast. Today we'll be going over combining the two previous things that we made in the last 2 episodes, the circuits that we made in episode 1, and the generators we made in episode 2. If you haven't watched those yet, please click to follow to watch them. We will also be creating the coal dust required and the glass. And we'll all be combining it and outputting it as the final product, the solar panels. So let's get started. And with a little movie magic, we are here. We already have the circuits already set up and ready to go from episode 1. Generators are over there from episode 2, and over here we will be doing everything else, what little there is of. So what do we need? Well, all we need is 3 pieces of glass per pump and 3 coal per pump. Now the glass is going to be easy because it has an EMC value of 1, the lowest possible value at total. So we can make that really quick. So that should be easy. The coal has an EMC value of 128. So that might be a little bit difficult to get 3 created every 1 second approximately. But we'll get to that. Let's start with the easy one. Let's start with the glass. And it should be quite simple as... that. Yeah, I think we're producing enough. But we gotta do this in the correct order. Always do it in the correct order. The backwards order. Of course, that's really mostly just me being far too lazy to actually do it the right way. Now we can put the engines on. And hey look, we're done. Next step is the coal. So let's see what we can do about the coal. Let's give a little bit of space here. Now we're gonna need a little bit more EMC. So let's use the collectors and the relays. Now remember, we have to have an output here, here, and here. So we're going to have to be very careful with our use of relays. And I keep forgetting to hit the shift click. And that's pretty much all we can do. Because if we put them anywhere else, they're going to interfere. So, let's see if that's enough. Yep, I think that's enough. I think that'll do. Alrighty. Again, we're doing it forward, and we need to do it backwards. Now, here comes the slightly complicated part. Just as we did with the rubber over there, we have to bring this up and over and into a macerator. And that will take the coal dust, or the coal, and turn it into coal dust. Now, it's not just something as simple as, hey, there we go, we're done. Be nice if it was, but, well, first off, we need power. We have no power. And secondly, if we throw power into this thing, it'll be far, far too slow. Here, I'll do a jump cut after I set up a little bit of a power source, and I'll show you how it's just far too slow. And that is the Macerator with its default settings. It takes low voltage power, and it runs insanely slowly. Now there's no way that this thing can output 3 coal dust at once. So what we have to do is upgrade. To do that, we need a few special things. And those special items are the transformer upgrade, the energy storage upgrade, and the overclocker upgrade. Now why do we need this? Well, let's start with the overclocker upgrade. If we put a few of them in here, we can see that the Macerator runs considerably faster. At least for one of them it did. It ran out of power. It completely ran out of power before it could finish doing its thing. Well, one thing we can do is put in some energy storage upgrades. And then you have to put one in there to let it realize that there's an upgrade in there. And then it will charge up its internal batteries. And it takes a while. So quick-eyed people will notice that there's a problem here. And we can see that it's still running faster, but the internal reserves, including these, are running out. Well, this will work if you're trying to make, say, a stack. But if you're running it constantly for like hours on end, this is not going to be enough. This is where the transformer upgrades come in. Right now, the Macerator runs on low voltage power. Put one transformer upgrade in there, it can run on medium voltage. Put 2 more in there, and it can run on high voltage. Now, high voltage power is still not going to quite be enough because we actually need 13 overclocker upgrades. 13 will be enough that it can produce the 3 we need within one pump, but it's small enough that we won't waste too much electricity. It is just what we need. But how are we going to power it? Well, there's one way that I found that we can do this, and this is the easiest way. And I will do a quick jump cut after I've built it. There I have the Macerator set up with 2 inputs coming directly from a line of HV solar arrays. Now the HV solar arrays output 512 EU per tick, which is high voltage power. The Macerator, with its high voltage upgrade, can accept a maximum of 512 EU per tick. Now why do I have 2 cables going in? Because it can accept a maximum of 512 EU per tick per side. So if we have 2 inputs, we're actually inputting a full 1024 EU per tick. Now, how does this work? How am I getting 1024 out of the same exact cable? Well, there's actually a trick to the HV solar arrays, which I'll go into further detail in a future video. Basically, what they're doing, they're actually outputting a combined total of 2048, but they're only outputting it 512 at a time. So that's why this works, and that's why this works the way it is. Like I said, I'll go into full detail later on. Alright, so now we have our 13 overclocker upgrades, our 3 transformers, and you always have to have a bunch of energy storage upgrades or it won't even let you start. So now we see it's running much, much faster, and we're not losing any power. So this is what we want. This is exactly what we want. It'll work perfectly for our needs. But we have a problem. If we're, say, at night, and we put in our coal, battery instantly drains and stops dead. So what can we do in that case? Well, in that case, we put MFSUs in line. Now, these are basically batteries, to put it simply. And all you have to do is just put them directly in line. And if you look at one of these, you can see there's a little dot here that's not on any of the other sides. That is the output side. So the cable going to the macerator needs to go into that side. Now, MFSUs can only accept 512 EU per tick, just like one side of the macerator. So we have to keep our eyes on that. Now, let's set this back to daytime. We can see that we're pulling in some decent amount of power. Again, this is a trick with the fact that we're using 4 HV solar arrays. And again, I will go into it in a future episode. Now, this should also give us enough power so that we can run the macerator at full speed, taking 512 in from both of them, and still charge up the MFSUs during the day. So that way when night comes around, we have all this spare power stored right here to keep running until dawn. And now we have plenty of power. So I will finish up the last of the piping. And here the piping's all complete. As you can see, it's much like pretty much everything else, where we just have 3 outputs that will get pumped into a simple mesh of iron pipes. And I'm just using gold pipes just to avoid any future problems. And then everything, the glass and the now coal dust, gets pushed into this chest, which we will sit beside another automatic crafting table. But let's fire this up and see how everything works. Right off the bat, we can see we're getting 3 glass. That's perfect. That's exactly what we want. And now, when we come over here and we look, we see that I forgot to put the engines on the coal. Well, simple fix. This is why we test things. Alright, so now we got 3 coal coming out. And eventually it will all filter its way down to the macerator. And there, the macerator has started its thing. We could see that coal dust was already coming out of the macerator, and that's because I had left the coal dust in there. And then everything gets shot down to this chest. And just because we're running a little slow here, I will put another golden pipe there just to speed things along. There. So, now that we have our spare stuff, hang on a moment, let me clear out my inventory. That's good enough. So we need 3 coal dust, 1, 2, 3. 3 glass, 1, 2, 3. And from the other chest we grab 1 generator and 2 circuits. Now we put that all together. And I have it backwards. And we have solar panels. And then from here it's just a simple task of outputting. Not from there, but from there into a chest. And of course we need a little extra juice. So we need to be able to actually run the engine that's going to go here. And now we have a complete and working machine. So let's turn this off. That test should have run long enough. We will attach this. Make sure we're not covering up an engine. We don't want to break what we just made. We set it to our frequency. And voila! We're already outputting solar panels. And that is, of course, because we already have a bunch stored in there, and a bunch stored in there. So, once everything gets up to speed, we should have everything working. Now, I'll do another jump. We'll let everything get up to speed, and let's make sure the coal is catching up, the glass is working, the macerator's working. Let's make sure everything works like it should. And there it is. The great machine is running at full power and full capacity. You can see we're still pumping out a considerable number of solar panels. Let's see how we're doing. 27, 26, 25, 25, 24. Now, is this happening just because we're not outputting fast enough, or is this happening because we haven't caught up yet? Well, since now we're going up, it seems we may have caught up. Glass is doing the same exact thing, so it's just bouncing back and forth. So the glass is definitely fine. And it looks like, yeah, the coal dust caught up with itself. The reason it didn't catch up faster was because it's just so much farther away. But that's okay. And the reason it's fluctuating as greatly as it is the same as it was over there, is just the jumble of iron pipes is just getting it confused. Now, we could alleviate this problem by expanding everything out and not using as many iron pipes, but of course that just makes everything bigger. And who am I talking about bigger? This thing is far bigger than it needs to be. So let's check on the coal and make sure we have enough being produced. And we can see we definitely do not. Alright, now here's a trick that I've found on my server. If you come across this problem due to space issues, take something with a high EMC value, like say this RM furnace here, and then put it in there. And it will suck up the RM furnaces and use that EMC to create what you need it to create. That's actually how I have it running on the server, because I just didn't have enough space to make enough iron or enough tin. And I'm having the same problem on the server with the coal as well. It's just not producing enough coal. And I think the only way we could fix the coal is to just have a second input for coal. Now let's check the macerator. It looks like the macerator may be having a problem, because we saw it go down to 0 there for a second. It was 0, then it went to 2, and then it went away. But it looks like it's not having that problem again. Now, one way you could also take care of that problem is to put a few more in there. I won't let you. Well, then, we'll do it this way. You don't want to put too many in there, so 16 extra might work. And then that will build up a buffer again, and it will give you less problems. And that, again, is happening because of the iron pipe mesh. But that's where the buffers all come in. And just for consistency's sake. Yeah, I think we're producing enough glass. So, short of the coal problem over there, it's complete. And then what I'll do is just after I'm done with this video, I'll just create a second chest for the coal, all outputting into the same macerator, so it won't be a problem. So while we bask in the complex beauty of this beast, here are a few other videos of mine that you might enjoy. Ooh, I really like that one. And a few things that I'm going to be doing in the future. Definitely going to be doing a video about Industrial Crafts EU. That way I can explain why the macerator works the way it does, why I built that exactly the way I built it, and what exactly did I mean when I said 512 EU per tick. What is all that about? But we'll get on to that. Another video I might be making will explain the EMC for equivalent exchange, which will be useful to understand when you're using the compressors that I'm using. And from there, I'm not 100% sure. Well, remember to like and subscribe. And remember, the more likes, the more videos. The more videos, the better the videos. Because you know, practice makes perfect. See you on the next tutorial.